Jai Hind and welcome back to the third and final part of the lesson, A Triumph of Surgery. We saw that Tricky was doing well at the hospital, playing well with all the dogs, enjoying, eating, and there was a considerable progress. Similar kind of progress was seen in the writer as well because he was getting good meal and wine as well. Now, let's continue. We could hardly believe in when the brandy came to put a final edge on Tricky's constitution. Now, the kind of mistress uh, Mrs. Pumphrey was, you can see, she started sending brandy for Tricky. And as she knew that he was convalescing, she wanted to give a final edge. Means it was a point near the end that is called as final edge. Means she wanted to build his health, and that's why she wanted to give it a final touch, and she thought that brandy would do the trick. So she sent brandy, and this surprised the writer and the authors as well. For a few nights the fine spirit was rolled around, inhaled and reverently drunk. अब ये ब्रांडी का मजा किसने लिया फिर? Of course, by the doctor and his partners. So the fine spirit means brandy was rolled around. Roll around मतलब arrived again and again. बार बार वो आता रहा. Inhaled means they enjoyed it, inhaled it, and reverently drunk means drunk with respect. So whatever came for Tricky, that directly went into the tummies of these partners. And actually by doing that, they were doing a favor to Tricky. We may think that ये तो गलत है, फिर उसके लिए कुत्ते की लाया हुआ खाना डॉक्टर ने क्यों खाया? Because that was the style, that was the way of treatment, and that was much needed for Tricky. They were the days of deep content, means deep satisfaction. Starting well with extra egg in the morning, improved and sustained by midday wine, and finishing luxuriously around the fire with the brandy. तो सुबह अंडे, दोपहर में वाइन और रात को ब्रांडी. इस तरह से ये सब डॉक्टर्स का, उनके पार्टनर्स का सेटलमेंट, उनका प्रैक्टिस चल रहा था. इट वॉज अ टेम्पटेशन टू कीप ट्रिकी ऑन एज अ परमानेंट गेस्ट. तो अगर ऐसा एक पेशेंट की वजह से मिल रहा है तो देर वॉज अ टेम्पटेशन, उनके मन में लालच पैदा हुई कि क्यों ना ट्रिकी को परमानेंटली इधर रखे, एंड टू कीप ऑन टेलिंग दैट अभी ठीक नहीं हुआ, अभी ठीक नहीं हुआ, अभी ठीक नहीं हुआ. तो ऐसे उनकी तो जिंदगी भर वाइन, ब्रांडी, अंडे मिलते रहेंगे. सो इट वॉज अ टेम्पटेशन दैट he had in his mind to keep him as a permanent guest. But you know, the doctor was a nice guy, nice fellow. So he knew Mrs. Pumphrey was suffering, and after a fortnight felt compelled to phone and tell her that the little dog had recovered and was awaiting collection. So he conveyed to the mistress that the dog was recovering and also asked her to collect the dog. Within minutes, about 30 feet of gleaming black metal drew up outside the surgery. 30 feet of gleaming black metal means her car was 30 feet long. इतनी लंबी कार drew up outside the surgery. The chauffeur opened the door. ड्राइवर ने दरवाजा खोला. And I could just make out the figure of Mrs. Pumphrey almost lost in the interior. Mrs. Pumphrey was a rich lady, and we can easily see based on the kind of things she provided to Tricky. उसके साथ साथ उसकी इतनी बड़ी कार थी और कार के अंदर के इंटीरियर में वो खो गई थी, वो दिख भी नहीं रही थी. उसका इंटीरियर इतना बढ़िया सा किया हुआ था. So the writer was hardly able to find out the figure of Mrs. Pumphrey almost lost in the interior. Her hands were tightly clasped in front of her. अभी ये बताने का रीज़न ये था कि she was restless. वो थोड़ी सी परेशान थी, eager थी अपने डॉग से मिलने के लिए. Her lips trembled. She became emotional. Oh, Mr. Heriot, do tell me the truth. Is he really better? So she couldn't believe that the dog recovered. That's why she wanted to confirm it. Yes, he is fine. There is no need for you to get out of the car. I'll go and fetch him, he told. I walked through the house into the garden. A mass of dogs was hurtling round and round the lawn, and in their midst, so there was a mass of dogs. They were hurtling round and round, hurtling, running here and there, the lawn, and in their midst, ears flapping, tail waving, was the little golden figure of Tricky. तो उसमें Tricky भी था, normal like others. In 2 weeks, he had been transformed into a lithe, hard-muscled animal. तो 2 हफ्ते में he had been transformed into a lithe. Lithe, the meaning of lithe is thick, supple and graceful. वो दुबला हो गया था और graceful भी दिख रहा था, अच्छा भी दिख रहा था. तो lithe, hard-muscled animal. He was keeping up well with the pack. To keep up well इसका मतलब होता है progress. बाकी पैक के साथ, बाकी कुत्तों के साथ वो भी अच्छा प्रोग्रेस कर रहा था. Stretching out in great bounds means he was jumping, he was running, his chest almost brushing the ground. So he was completely all right, he meant to say. I carried him back along the passage to the front of the house. The chauffeur was still holding the car door open. Car door open, and when Tricky saw his mistress, he took off from my arms in a tremendous leap and sailed into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap. तो जैसे उसने अपनी मालकिन को देखा, वो एकदम से tremendous leap लिया और अपने मिस्ट्रेस के पास चला गया. She gave a startled oh and then had to defend herself as he swarmed over her. तो जैसे उसने ऊपर उस मिस्ट्रेस के ऊपर अटैक सा कर दिया था, he jumped on her and she had to defend herself, licking her face and barking. So this reunion was also very noteworthy. During the excitement, I helped the chauffeur to bring out the beds, toys, cushions, coats and bowls, none of which had been used. उसमें से कुछ भी काम में नहीं आया था. Because the dog wasn't given special treatment in the hospital, the dog was kept with the other dogs most of the time. As the car moved away, Mrs. Pumphrey leaned out of the window. Tears shone in her eyes. Shone is the past tense of shine. आंखों में आंसू चमकने लग गए थे. Her lips trembled. Clearly, she became emotional. What she said? Oh, Mr. Harriot, she cried. How can I ever thank you? This is a triumph of surgery. She emotionally said that this was a triumph of surgery, and she did not know at all that there wasn't any kind of surgery, but it was actually you can say imaginary surgery that it went, and it was a virtual surgery that the doctor had organized, and that was really a successful one. Now, after the lesson, we need to understand what kind of questions are asked from this lesson. So, there are different kinds of questions which are asked on this lesson. Now, the first thing is, when we need to remember that Mrs. Pumphrey is a figure who resembles to many parents. बहुत बार पेरेंट्स ज़्यादा प्यार में आके अपने बच्चों को ज़्यादा पैम्पर करते हैं. And as when Mrs. Pumphrey over-pampered the dog was spoiled. In the same way, children also get spoiled. So this is a comparison that we need to draw. और हमको ये भी बताना है, क्वेश्चन ऐसा पूछा जा सकता है कि क्या रियल लाइफ में मिसेस पम्फ्री जैसे पेरेंट्स होते हैं, ये हमको बताना पड़ेगा. एंड द आंसर इज यस ऑल द टाइम, क्योंकि यस ऐसा होता है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग ओवर पैम्पर्ड होते हैं, वेदर इट इज़ डॉग और चिल्ड्रन. ओवर पैम्पर हर चीज़ की जब होती है तो स्पॉइलिंग तो होता है. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज सेड दैट एवरीथिंग बियॉन्ड लिमिट इज लाइक अ पॉइजन, एंड हियर आल्सो इट एक्ट्स लाइक अ पॉइजन. तो मिसेस पम्फ्री के जैसे पेरेंट्स यहाँ पे डेफिनेटली होते हैं. और यू कैन नो द कैरेक्टर ऑफ द डॉक्टर वॉज अ वेरी क्लेवर पर्सन, एंड he knew how to treat Tricky, and he managed everything quite well. Now there are different values that we learn through the lesson. To understand the lesson better, you need to go through the story well, and apart from that, we can also refer to some of the books which are reference books, जिससे आपको बहुत सारी चीज़ें देखने को मिलेगी. तो यहाँ पे जैसे द डॉक्टर डिड नॉट ऑपरेट द डॉग अननेसेसरली, मतलब वो एक अच्छा आदमी था, ये हमको उसे मालूम पड़ता है. ही वॉज अ पोलाइट इंडिविजुअल, and he also didn't take disadvantage of Mrs. Pamphry because she was a rich lady. लेकिन उसका disadvantage लेना possible था, but he didn't do that. So डॉक्टर हेरियट जो है वो भी एक अच्छा पर्सन बल्कि सामने आता है. He was an animal lover, and he also know that over pampering of the pets make them really dull and they spoil them. So number of things you can learn from the lesson. So you can go through the reference books, and you can follow some questions to know them better. That's all about the first lesson, a triumph of surgery. Thank you.